no.
Hello, and my name is Anonymous, and I made a story about an ad, and it's very nice. And I'm just gonna read it today. Take 23. Okay. 'Twas 7 a.m. on a bright Wednesday morning, and Barbara was tightening the elastic on her now tightly tied up wild brunette hair. She was confident. So confident, in fact, that she was practically leaving a well-paved walkway in her room from her prior and now current lost-in-thought pacing. Today was her interview. She was sure she was perfect for anything they could ask for. She was smart, intelligent, a brilliant intellectual. Okay, maybe that was a lie, but they didn't know that. All the interviewers would know is what her pristine resume listed as fact. Besides, everyone knows those glorious pieces of paper are just realistic fiction. What's so bad about sweetening the pot a little? They won't even fret about it, for someone as amazing as she. Also, of course, her physique wasn't anything to scoff at. Surely, off looks alone, she'd land the job. She looked down, surveying her solid, plump and round curves, including her puffed-out tummy, a tummy that came from one unfortunate and drunken night, one where she had a singular one-night stand with a forgettable strip Rick, who had no idea about what he would unintentionally bring into this world. No matter, though, she'll be able to take care of her child after she gets this job, which she undoubtedly, no shadow of a doubt, no questions asked, will. Suddenly, a hot tremor of panic rushes up her spine. Wait, when was the last time I checked the time? She thought to herself, her eyes widened, a cold sweat running down her porcelain skin as her knees threatened to buckle beneath her. She read over her small, sleek wristwatch once, twice, 5 times, suddenly feeling lightheaded and a bit nauseous. 7:47. It's 7:47. The interview was at 9, and it's practically 8 a.m., a time where the roads would be packed with other civilians, those of whom were probably leaving their happy families to go to their well-paying jobs so they could take their happy kids to get some gelato after a busy day of work. Hard clacks echoed through the apartment's hollow stairway, periodically accompanied with the resounding jingle of keys that were snatched from an inconspicuous counter just mere seconds ago. A car door slams shut and the buckle of a seatbelt is drowned out with a rushing of blood in her cells. Her previous confidence all but forgotten, now replaced with unbridled, stark terror. She pulled out of the apartment's now old cracked pavement, the landlord generously called reserved parking in a glorified ad. It's 7:50 and she's on the road. She'd currently be 30 minutes away from her future job on a good day. Today was not a good day. She banged her head on her steering wheel, hoping her pain will somehow bring fortune. She hisses when pain comes from an unprompted source. My stomach hurts. I should have eaten more this morning considering I have 2 people to feed now. Distractedly, her thoughts are shifted to her empty pantry and fridge. Apparently, they were only made to hold her off-brand honey buns, bread, and frozen dinners. A soft sigh falls from her recently glossed lips. She hears a loud honk from the car behind her, snapping her back to reality. Quickly, she returns her gaze to the road, providing the intentness needed to not roll 7 times in her cheap 4-wheeler. I mean, everyone starts somewhere, right? I can't say bad words, so effing F, she hisses through her quivering lips. Her stomach singes painfully as she hurriedly dashes through the 2 petite glass doors. Just as 8:51 hits, she fixes her hair behind her ears, now glistening with salty, sticky sweat. Hello, ma'am. I'm here for the job. She lets out a breathy, nervous chuckle as she regards the professional lady behind this receptionist counter. She's dressed in much fancier work attire than her own plain light blue dress shirt and red tie, and instead of a messy high ponytail, her black, shiny hair is slicked back in a tightly curled bun. The longer she looks, the more it looks like there's not a single hair out of place or a wrinkle on her obviously pressed outfit. They must be hiring models to represent their businesses on the front lines, she thinks. Hopefully. The modelish woman looks up at her with a sharp, questioning and judgmental glance before resolutely focusing back on her computer and typing furiously, nodding her head towards a closed door. Third from on the right, just wait in the queue until it's your turn. Good luck, ma'am. The modelish woman spoke elegantly with a slight but noticeably fond smirk. Oh, it was that simple, I see. She mumbled under her breath, still slightly distracted with the constant reminder of a stinging pain just above her waist. After quickly mumbling a thank you to the receptionist, she limped over to the suddenly wide and ominous door. She gulps, staring at the handle, partly from her now partly clouded brain being stunted by pain as it escalates further up her torso. But really, because that's just what main characters do before important events. Her shaky hands grasp the door handle, pushes down, and pulls back to reveal a line? The line on the floor is crowded by only one other person, seemingly surveying the office from just outside its wooden door. She's wearing skin-tight see-through stockings with a cuff skirt with a plain white long-sleeve dress shirt tucked in them. All of this topped off with a loose navy-color tie. She seems to be admiring herself as if looking through an invisible mirror. Berth Barbara walks up to her to tap her on the shoulder, only getting one definite tap on her shoulder before the girl reels back like she just stepped in steaming poo. Hey, are you going to go in for the interview, or... The girl looks at her with a scrutinizing gaze. No, she said, poison leaking out into every sound wave pouring out of her mouth. Taken aback, Berth Barbara just dumbly nods her head to her and walks into the office's open door. The office is cluttered. She notes the weird merchandise scattered around the mahogany desk of her soon-to-be boss. Hopefully. I hope this guy's a weird guy. Weirdo. She thinks as she tries to push down the ever-growing excruciating pain, decidedly promising to go to a doctor afterwards to get checked out. The pain she's experiencing right now has to be at least 10 times any stomach ache she's ever experienced in her 23 and a half years of living. She musters up her most confident face and, surprisingly articulated without her voice cracking, she simply says, "Hello," as a greeting to her future employer. The man all but glances at her before her fate is sealed. "No," the booming voice of a stout man said. The answer was so short but effective in bringing anguish as quickly as humanly possible. Hot dread curled through every crack on Berth Barbara's surface, almost as if she was the shirt being ironed by the stunning receptionist this morning. Hot, moist, and uncomfortable. She felt burning wet tears flow down her cheeks in an instant after a surprised gasp left her gaping mouth. Her ugly moans of sadness resounding through the office and traveling out the door she entered just a few seconds prior. Suddenly, the facade she tried to keep up cracked in the midst of her mental anguish and exhaustion. The resurgence of excruciating pain returned, except this time it was much worse than before, as if the stinging, overwhelming, rippling feeling between her thighs and up was upset after being ignored. Instinctively, her pale thighs lowered into a squat to hopefully accommodate whatever ailed her a quick exit. She felt her innards shift in her lower tummy, her panic-hazed mind too out of it to comprehend anything. There's no way I'm giving birth, right? She thought, through a stream of molten glistening tears and panic-induced swirls. She felt her rosy entrance being opened much too wide, supplying her with the feeling of ripping and tearing physically and mentally. Mostly physically, though, as blood flowed through her pants and trickled down her leg to pool on the floor. She could see her stomach start to deflate as the baby moved lower and lower through her sensitive, soft lower tubes. She could hear the distinct sound of tearing coming from her favorite Goodwill leggings as the baby pushed lower and lower, with it bringing more and more unperturbed, searing pain. Fluids pulled underneath her and soaked her now slaughterhouse-smelling shoes and socks, uncomfortably dousing and sliding in between her toes. Letting out an involuntary, dissatisfied, guttural grunt, she felt her throat close from the sheer force she tried to manifest between her legs in an effort to relieve her from the mass of flesh. Muscle fatigue starting to seep into her and burn her to the bone. This is it. This is finally it, she thought in a daze as she pushed one last time. With a satisfying, her son's head greeted the outside air. Birth brought leading down, possessiveness settling in even in her pain-addled brain for the first time for the lithe form hanging from her legs. The rest of his body, lubricated by her blood and biological fluids, slipped out quickly, landing slickly in her arms. Wide spurts of birth fluid spat out haphazardly on the surrounding surfaces like a detonated bomb, landing in her boss's steaming hot coffee, held in a mug that said "World's Best Boss" in all capital letters. Along with the mug, various other ornaments on the boss's desk was stained with a cloudy, viscous birth liquid, sadly not excluding a stack of money on the horrified man's desk. It's kind of his fault anyways, she thought afterwards about the unusually unguarded cash despite the constant opportunity it presented no good thieves. She blinks. What just happened? As a cool wave of an indescribable feeling washes over her. She can't bring herself to look up at the two people now horrified with the fact that she just gave birth in front of two strangers after being rejected a job in 2 seconds. Not to mention that one of the people was the person who rejected her and was now also furious about his sullied and disgusting surroundings. She moaned pathetically and quietly made as swift as an exit as she could, feeling like bad quality putty. Her legs trembled as she walked. The only thing keeping her up was the knowledge of her newly born son in her arms, her son's cries barely even registering in her current state of being. Trembling with mental exhaustion, she exited the building. Realization dawned on her exponentially that she hadn't even looked at her disgustingly slick and slimy and now cold child yet. She looked down inquisitively and was shocked. Why is his head so huge? She stuttered in a whisper, completely in awe at the sight. She questioned if he was even human as she tried to ignore the fact that she was covered in blood and other mystery juices, walking around like a zombie with an inhuman-looking red gooey baby. She'd have to soak her car in blood to get home, and how could she possibly feed him now that she was unmistakably in financial ruin? I'm effed. I can't say bad words. She mumbled under her breath after she collected her thoughts and had a good shower. Well, as good as she could manage with Big Noggin Bob crying a storm in her small one-room apartment. The phrase, "It's too loud, I can't hear myself think," becoming a reality. Some luck. Oh my gosh, it's finally done. Okay, yeah, that's it. I just wanted to end the story at the end. I was so out of it. It was 4 a.m. I was just so done. Okay, that's it. That's the story. Yay. Okay.